So there was a quote by Gabrielle Dumont that got very widely publicized, where at the end he said, "Me, I'll never give up." And that's the only thing that I can say is it's going to be hard. Everything is going to be hard. Everything is not going to be easy. You're going to make tougher decisions than you ever thought possible. But you will never give up. You need to show your persistence and you need to show your strength to everyone out there. And you will have to dig into the depths of your soul to find that strength some days, but never give up.
Welcome to the Cross Border Interviews, the show where we dive into the insights of municipal political leaders from across Canada. Now, our mission on the show is quite simple. Shine a light on the dedicated individuals who day in and day out work around the council table to shape the communities that we call home. And for today's episode, we are honored to have sat in person with Wetaskiwin, Alberta Councillor Gabrielle Blatz. Wetaskiwin is a city that blends small town vibes with the unique adventures that it holds. Whether you're exploring their rich history at the world-class museums, enjoying the great outdoors on scenic trails, or savoring local flavors at unique restaurants, there's something for everyone in Wetaskiwin. Located just 35 minutes south of Edmonton International Airport, Wetaskiwin is the perfect destination for a day trip or a weekend getaway. Counselor, thank you so much for sitting down with me and chatting.
Thanks for
Gotta
having me.
start with a very simple question. Where did your sense of duty to serve your community come from, Gabrielle?
I love this question. I think it comes from the way that I grew up and then went into why I chose as careers beyond that. So when I was a kid growing up, I grew up in a very poor household. I remember that we went to the Salvation Army. We had to eat food out of the food bank. I grew up in a mobile home on an acreage in Wetaskiwin County. And so for me, I understand a lot of what people that are today that are hurting and that are going through so many mental health problems, that are going through so many challenges in their lives. I grew up in that atmosphere. And so for me, I've always been grateful for the things I have in my life and grateful for the people that I have in my life. And so community has always meant so much to me. And being able to give back to my community is something that's always meant a lot to me. When I was 18, my friends and I started a volunteer group. It was called the Sequoia Roots Movement. We didn't know how to help the community or give back to the community, and that was something that we all kind of decided would be the best course of action, and we would try and figure it out together. There was about 14 of us at the height of this movement, and it was a bunch of 20-something-year-olds that just wanted to make Wetaskiwin a better place. So we ran sock drives, food drives. We gave back to different organizations. And we wanted to really use it as a platform to tell people what the issues are in Wetaskiwin. And from there, I also am a healthcare worker. So I started my career in healthcare when I just turned 19. It was 2 days after my 19th birthday. And I'm a medical lab assistant. And I've been doing that for 10 years. And so working in healthcare, you have to have a lot of compassion. You have to have a lot of empathy. It teaches you a lot of things. You get to see a lot of things that are really hard in life. And I think that has been a huge contribution to why I love to serve people. I love to serve my community.
What was it about the municipal politics that drew you into it? Because from that long answer to a very simple question,
Fair long-winded.
it seems like it wouldn't have been politics would have been your first choice. It would have been through nonprofits, volunteerism, but in 2019, through a by-election, you decided that politics was where Gabrielle could best serve her community. What was that on?
I would say the politics is kind of in my blood.
Was mom and dad political?
No. One of my great grandfathers is Chief Pachito Tanner. He was the person who signed Treaty 1. My other great grandfather is Chief Michelle Callahoo, who signed Treaty 6. And one of my great uncles is Gabrielle Dumont, who I get my name from. So leading people, being a leader, being in leadership positions, leading resistances is something that is in my ancestry and something that I'm very proud of. And being Indigenous, I feel like it is in our bones to try to help people and try to lift up our communities. I think that municipal politics wasn't really something I thought about until that volunteer group that I was talking about. I realized that there are so many issues in Wetaskiwin that are not going to be fixed just from volunteer work, and I need to find a way that I can serve on a bigger level. That opportunity came in 2019 when 2 women stepped down from council. That means that we had no more women on council, so the rest were men. And my friend called me up, and his name is Lars Hansen. He's actually running as mayor of Leduc right now.
Yep.
Um,
Former guest of the show as well.
Yeah. And so he called me and he's just like, "Did you see there's a by-election happening?" And I'm like, "Yep, I did see that." And he's just like, "Are you planning on running?" And I'm like, "Nope." And there's something that somebody has always said, which is that the amount of times it takes to ask a woman to run for politics is on average about 7 times. And he probably asked me 7 times in one phone call.
They got rid of the way right away.
Yeah, right. Get right out of there. My initial answer was no. I hung up on him, and I'm like, I can't see myself running, and the reason why is because I've never saw somebody like me running. I never seen somebody like me in a council chair, especially in Wetaskiwin. And so, something that became a huge point for me to base my whole campaign around was, you can't be what you can't see. And it's something that echoed in my head after I hung up the phone, called him right back and was like, "Nope, let's do this." I think that there at that point was no Indigenous representation on city council, which we have a large Indigenous population in Wetaskiwin. We had no women on council now, and we had no young people on council. And so never seeing youth on council, I think, was a huge reason why I wanted to get involved.
So I want to pick up there for a second, if you don't mind, because youth in politics today, it seems to be something that is looked upon and frowned upon at the same time, because it's, oh, you haven't lived enough to be able to make tough decisions. You don't know what truly means to balance a home budget. When you decided through that initial phone call with the Mr. Hansen that you were going to put your name on the ballot, was there ever a moment you said to yourself, being a young woman running in Wetaskiwin of all places is probably going to be a negative thing for the community? Or did you think, no, screw it, I'm going to run, and I don't care if people look at me as a young woman or just young, I'm going to run and I'm going to do my best to represent the community that I love?
Mm-hmm. I think that it is definitely the second one, but it took a hard amount of time.
Did anyone ever ask you when you knocked on doors, "Oh, you're young, how do you know?"
I actually had somebody that I door knocked, and she said, "I love absolutely everything that you're saying right now, but you are too young, and come back when you're older and you've had more life experience." And I think that's something that is one of the hardest parts of running as somebody that is under the age of 30 on council is how do you get that respect? And governance has always been a representation of the community. So it's not whoever has the degree, it's not whoever has training in this, it's not somebody with a poli-sci degree. It is representatives from the community, and I want to represent the youth. And youth is a huge part of our community in Wetaskiwin. And so for me, I knew it was going to be hard. There was not one part of me that didn't think it was going to be tough. I knew it was going to be difficult, especially coming from an acreage in Wetaskiwin County. I was fairly shy at the time as well. So for me, it was hard for me to say, I'm going to go door to door and face strangers every day for 3 months.
Well, not even that, because in 2019, when you get elected to the by-election, you don't know what is literally going to be coming in a few months' time, and in March of 2020 with COVID-19. So you literally get elected and you're like, okay, this is going to be somewhat of a not easy introduction, but a somewhat smooth transition from this to 2021. But you kind of choose a really weird time now that you're going to be entering politics. When you got on council in that first election, that first by-election, what was that moment like, walking into that council chambers knowing that you're going to be making those tough decisions now?
It was one of those crazy moments where I knew that I worked hard to be there, and but it's one of those things where you're not actually entirely sure that you're going to get there. When I was running, I wanted to make sure there was a woman on the ballot. I wanted to make sure that there was somebody young on the ballot. I wanted to make sure there was an Indigenous person on the ballot. it didn't necessarily mean I would win, but it's something I wanted to put forward and work so hard to get to. I door knocked every door in Wetaskiwin 3 times by the end of the election period. And that was how I got to where I was. And so I knew it was from hard work for me to get there. And I knew I heard every voice in the community and they all spoke to me. And being able to walk into those council chambers, I remember it so clearly. It was in September 2019. Yeah, 2019. And I walked in. I was the only woman on council at this time, and I was 23 years old. And I sat down in that chair, and I thought to myself, I'm meant to be here. There was no nervousness in me. There was nothing that was making me feel like I had imposter syndrome in that moment. I knew that I was meant to be there.
I've like two questions I want to ask in a different way, but I'm going to kind of word it in one joint question. When you make decisions around that council table, because you've had to make them for the last 6 some odd years, if I'm doing my math here correctly, yes, 6 years, if I really could do my math here correctly. How do you put that decision through a lens, through an Indigenous lens, a female lens, a young lens, or do you put it through a Wetaskiwin lens? Because there's a lot of people who might get on council, who might run for election this year and it says, I'm a young candidate, so I'm going to put everything through a young lens. When you make those tough decisions, do you put it through a different lens each decision, or do you try to keep it as a Wetaskiwin lens? Because you're there to represent Wetaskiwin, even if you are an old, white, bald man.
Mm-hmm.
So what lens do you put it through?
I put it through both. And
Really?
that's just...
Is it hard?
Yes,
Okay.
extremely. And so that's the thing, right? It's like there have been so many issues that have come up in Wetaskiwin that are Indigenous based, that are LGBTQ based, that are female based. There are so many issues that come through all of these different groups that we represent. And being able to use your own lived experience, use your own experience from talking to these groups, I think that those all play a factor in this. But especially for anything that was equity based was something that I really drove a lot of my strength from. I think that anytime that I had the opportunity to speak from my lived experience or to help people that have gone through what I have gone through in life, I have felt a lot of passion with what I've been working on through that. And so I represent all of Wetaskiwin, but it's also that I have a lot more experience in equity deserving groups. And so those are my safe spaces. Those are the spaces where I feel most welcome. Those are the spaces where I feel so happy to stand up for those groups, especially when they don't have a voice in it.
Do the decisions around the council table get easier as time goes on? Or are the hard decisions that you made in year one of your mandate the same challenge that they are year 6? Or do they get easier because you're getting more accustomed to making those tough decisions?
This goes back to when you were talking about COVID-19. So 2019 was my only year that I had before COVID of being on council. And that was only 6 months that I got to be on council before COVID started. Being a healthcare worker.
Perfect time, especially as a healthcare worker.
Yeah, and that was the problem is I was a healthcare worker at the time at the Wetaskiwin Hospital, the Ponoka Hospital, and the Centennial Center for Brain Injury and Mental Health. And so working at all 3 of those hospitals during the pandemic was extremely difficult and something that I would have never thought would happen. None of us could have predicted that would happen. And so 2019, I think that a lot of my issues were based around high taxes. How are we able to serve the community the best? How can we get more community gatherings? Because we're lacking in community gatherings. And then you go to the next year when you're not allowed community gatherings. And when there's so many people that are scared, that are worried, that are trapped in their houses. It was really hard. Like as a healthcare worker, I was seeing people die every day. And so for me, it was difficult for 2020 and 2021 with the decisions that we were making, in the sense that I could see it from both sides. I could see on the front lines what was happening. And then you have to go back into City Hall and make those decisions as well for your community. It was difficult because you're seeing all sides of how do I protect my community? How do I make my community a safe place? How do I make sure that I'm looking after everybody when it's really hard to even look after yourself in this? And so I would say that there were a couple of really dark years there. my second term, I would say, has gotten harder because of COVID as well, only because of the misinformation that a lot of communities are facing, that a lot of politicians are facing right now.
Do you see it rampant in Wetaskiwin?
Mhm. Yeah, I think
Is
that,
that hard to do your job when there is so much misinformation that is spread?
yes.
Because you can't battle all of it,
Hmm.
because not all of it, as I just mentioned this in another interview, but you can't believe everything that's on social media, but
Yep.
it's not just on social media.
Yeah.
It's people talking at the grocery store, and you can't be in everywhere all at once because you're only one person.
Yeah. It's interesting because in Ottawa for the FCM convention, I actually just moderated a session on misinformation.
It's like I knew that was going to be a topic that you and I would talk about.
um, and it was standing room only in there. Like we reached fire capacity in that room because there were so many people from different communities across Canada that are facing the exact same issue. And it's hard because it's something that we've never faced before. It's a pandemic of its own. And we don't really know the best way to combat that right now, especially when there is not much support out there for elected officials when it comes to battling misinformation. It's really hard to.
And some of it even sides on this, like almost gets to the point of slander.
Oh,
Because,
yes.
like, I can imagine. I hate to ask this question to the female guest, but do you get the attacks because of your gender?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And
Is it hard to deal with that?
it's extremely difficult.
But you got tough skin. Like it seems like you would be able to let that roll off your back, or does it get to you?
I think it gets to me. I don't necessarily believe that everybody should just get thick skin and move on. I think that shouldn't be something. I think that is something that is very toxic that has been in leadership communities of all sorts of different organizations, is talking about how you need to just have a thick skin. You need to just move on. You need to just stop listening to these things. Well, it's hard when these things are being told to your family, or your family members are being threatened, or you've worked so hard to break through a glass ceiling in your own community, and then you're having people attack you and say absolute lies. It's not just the misinformation pandemic that we're going through. There's a disinformation pandemic that we're going through where people are purposefully planting information that is not accurate.
I want to turn to Wetaskiwin as a whole because I'm cautious of time and I need to talk about the city.
Yeah.
Before I do this, if you've listened to the show, please fast forward for like 30 seconds because I have a preamble that I have to give here. This is a conversation between the councillor and myself. This is not a motion of council, not a direction of council, not a policy of council. This is the councillor's opinion and her opinion alone. Now, it may line up with what's being talked about at council, but at the end of the day, she needs a majority of council members around the council table to vote in favor or against anything to make it pass to direct administration, aka the CAO, to do anything.
Yeah.
Done that enough times that I can ramble it off. Councillor, in your opinion, as of recording this in the middle of July 2025, what do you see as the biggest challenge or challenges facing the city of Wetaskiwin? It's a city, right? Because I always say city and then I get told that it's a town, or the opposite way around. It's a city, right?
It's one of Alberta's first cities, actually.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm not doing my job. I'm not doing my job incorrectly. So, in your opinion, what do you believe is the biggest challenge facing the city of Wetaskiwin?
Other than the fact that people think we're a town,
Wow. Mayor Gandam, I'd like to have a conversation with you.
I'm just kidding. But it is, honestly, I think it's what's plaguing a lot of communities across Canada right now, which is the affordability crisis that we're in right now. And I would almost mainly stand on that because we have houseless people in our community that are seeking help. We have a mental health and addictions crisis. We have people that are just on the verge of homelessness. And so these are all things that are happening in a smaller city like Wetaskiwin that only has a population of about 13,000, give or take. And
you say it's just 13,000, like every other community is like, that's huge.
yeah, that's what I mean. But like first city, it's pretty small.
But you're a hub too, right? So you have that 13,000, but then you have all the feeder communities around you that come into Wetaskiwin.
Yeah, and that is a huge issue is we have the shadow population, right? And so especially for our healthcare services, like we have a phenomenal hospital in Wetaskiwin and we have dialysis services, we have a great surgical ward, we have maternity wards. We have all of the services that people need in Wetaskiwin that smaller communities don't have. And so a lot of people access our healthcare services. But that being said, we have very limited mental health services in Wetaskiwin. For being in a mental health crisis, we are severely lacking in mental health services. And that's also because of the fact that there's an affordability crisis where people can't afford mental health services. A lot of people don't have jobs that have the extra health care that can help cover that. So it's been hard dealing with the aftermath of that, right? Like you have so much hurt in your community and there's only so much you can do as a counselor. And
But even as a council as a whole, you can't do much because you can't solve everyone's issues.
No.
I'm going to be as blunt as possible there. Do you think the city of Wetaskiwin's done a good job though, trying to manage expectations over what people want?
I think that the city of Wetaskiwin has been trying our best.
That is the most political answer I've got.
And I'm going to build on that. And the reason why is because it's what people need, not necessarily what people want. So there will be a portion of the population that doesn't think that we need to have affordable housing. There's a portion of the population that doesn't think we should have mental health and addictions supports.
You don't say. I've not read the news reports out of Wetaskiwin.
And there's a portion of the population that doesn't think that we should have a homeless shelter. And but the thing is that
if you don't have it, then
yeah,
they complain that you're not doing enough.
Yeah, and that's the problem, right? Is that what is the acceptable amount of support then? Because leaving people on the streets is not an option, and leaving people without support is not an option. And that is something since day one of being on council for me that I have always advocated for. I have never once voted against having a homeless shelter. I have ran on having a permanent homeless shelter. I have always been the person voting in favor of those. And whether or not that is something that is a popular opinion or not, it doesn't matter to me. I did not get elected on council for me to be popular. I got elected on council so that then I can help people in my community. And if
do you feel like you've helped?
I do.
How so?
I think that, well, for one, our permanent homeless shelter it's just wrapping up being built. There's going to be a transitional housing feature that's going to be added on later. So that was huge. I've been a massive advocate for getting different social services in Wetaskiwin. I've been helping out with the Indigenous communities and helping build those relationships. And one of the first motions that I ever made was creating an inclusivity campaign across Wetaskiwin. That was in response to a community member who had a pride flag as a fence, and so she painted it that way, and she received a really horrible letter in the mail talking about how this is supporting the wrong community, and it was something that broke my heart, and that was back in 2020.
But I should mention this, this is me saying this is not the councillor saying this, for every other community send messages to me.
Yeah.
That just doesn't happen in Wetaskiwin. So I'm not saying that Wetaskiwin is unique in that sense that people would say that type of stuff, but I don't want people to listen to that it's only happening in Wetaskiwin that people are sending the message. So I just want people to know that
100%.
So that way people aren't saying, oh, if I'm a member of the 2S LGBT community, I'm not going to move to Wetaskiwin.
Oh, no.
So,
and that's the thing, is that so much came from that letter and that whole circumstance. And we have a lot more support for our LGBTQ community than ever before. We now paint pride crosswalks every year, which is huge for us. But one of the other things that I did was I helped create one of the first urban food forests in Wetaskiwin to help with food security. And so there's these things that I've done throughout my career that I am very proud of, and I feel like I've created safe spaces for people, and that's all I could ever ask for with being on here, is just being able to have the opportunity to try to make my community better than when I came to it.
6 years later, do you think you're in a better spot in the community?
I think we're in a difficult spot right now because of
the whole COVID.
because of everything that has happened in the past 4 years has
But
been
you must be optimistic about the future.
extremely. Yeah, I think that we are on the right track. I think that we're getting so much more done now than we ever have before. We're addressing issues that haven't been addressed in the past. I think that the fact that we are making bold decision and bold steps forward, I think this is something that is a great first step for us getting into the right direction. Wetaskiwin's growing faster than ever before, and I am so excited to see the growth that's going on in Wetaskiwin right now. I'm so excited to see the communities that have moved into Wetaskiwin. I am very excited for the future, and we have so many amazing, incredible people in our community, and they are people who I look up to so much, and that's something that I will always hold dear to me. I'm always happy that I'm able to give back to the community that raised me, and I feel like in the past 6 years they have raised me even more into the person that I am today.
More and more municipalities across Alberta are looking at partnering with their First Nations communities around them. As one of a few Indigenous leaders on council, a municipal council in Alberta, do you feel like you have to lead the way in some sense in building that bridge between First Nations and municipalities today? Because we are seeing more and more communities reach out to First Nations and work with First Nations. As an Indigenous person, do you feel like, as your time on council and the city of Wetaskiwin have done a good job in fostering that relationship between the city and the First Nations that are around you?
I actually love that question.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's great. Being Indigenous, especially being Métis, I have always wanted to be able to bridge that gap between communities. I've always saw myself as that bridge. And something that I'm working on right now is a reconciliation forest in Wetaskiwin. It's going to be about 8,400 trees that are being planted. It's called the Wetaskiwin Healing Forest. So that name came from an elder that I've built a really great relationship with over time. We've done so many ceremonies, so many pipe ceremonies, so many smudge ceremonies. She was the person that I got. We had a smudge ceremony when I was first sworn into council, and it was such a great experience because that was huge to have an elder a part of our swearing in ceremonies, and I can't imagine our swearing in being without it. And she was the one who got to name the forest, and what Wetaskiwin means is miracle. And for me, that's a legacy that I'm excited to leave behind. The fact that there is going to be something that's going to outlive all of us, I think, is a true testament to what reconciliation should be. I've always believed that trees are a great pillar of community. Trees have to work together to live, and they provide so much oxygen and benefits to the people around them. And for me, I've always loved trees for that reason, and being able to show reconciliation in a physical sense and show it for hundreds of years. I think that is something that excites me. But being able to show it as a true pillar of, this is what I meant when I said that I wanted to bring reconciliation in on my time on council, is that I didn't want something fluffy. I didn't want something that was meaningless. I didn't want something that's going to expire as soon as my time on council is done. I want something that's going to outlive everything. And
do you feel like we've, and I say we as the royal we as in municipalities across Alberta, have done enough for that reconciliation part?
No.
What can we do more better at?
I think that's starting that conversation. There's still many communities that don't believe that they'll be welcome if they go to a powwow. There's so many communities that are scared to even start that conversation because they are scared to do it wrong. I think that you need to leave the fear at the door, and you need to leave your pride at the door. If you are being told by an elder that you did something wrong, you listen and you learn. You don't sit there and you try to argue, or you take it as embarrassment and you're going to never approach them ever again. This is a time for you to learn, and the only way for you to learn is by failing. And you can fail 100 times, but at least you're trying.
For those who probably did not notice, because I did an edit, I asked the counselor prior to the very first question if I was out of line to just do that. So I failed in my ability to just ask the question, right? Because you don't know at the end of the day, because you have to just be able to ask that question. It's that old TikTok, whatever thing meme. I feel like a boomer right now saying this, but it's like we listen, we don't judge, right? We listen and we just ask the things that we don't know about, because if we don't, how do we learn?
Yeah, and to build on that too, like we just got a really great presentation that we are now getting. We're working towards getting a friendship center in Wetaskiwin, which is huge,
Massive.
very. We've been talking about it for years, and so the fact that this is now coming to fruition is incredible. We are now partnering with Louis Bowl, and we're going to be creating some form of relationship in a formal level with them. And so these are things that are being done because of years and years and years of us trying to build those relationships. And once again, it's not something that's going to be easy. It's not something that's going to be short and sweet. It's not going to be something that you can just check off a list. It's relationship building. It's genuine relationship building. And that is something that is going to take years, and you need to have patience, and you need to meet people where they're at. I think that a lot of people give up if it's taking too long, but it is taking too long in a Western colonial mindset. And so it's leaving those opinions at the door when that is not what the culture is. This is not what relationship building is if you are imposing those thoughts on someone else.
I'm cautious of time here, so we got about 10 minutes left, and I have to ask the all-important question. And this question, the segment only goes to municipal councillors in Alberta, because you have an election coming up here in a few months. Have you decided if you're going to be running for re-election? You don't have to tell me, but I'm going to press it a little bit. Have you decided if the name is going to be back on the ballot in 2025?
I have decided that I am not running for re-election.
Why so?
I think that in my 6 years, I have gotten done more in my experience on council than I ever thought possible. I think that I want to show women everywhere that they can be on their municipal councils. I want to show that young people can be on council. I want to show that Indigenous people can be on council. And I was able to accomplish so much in that amount of time. One of the first things that happened to me after I got elected in 2019 was I was shopping in Dollarama the next day.
As we all do.
Small city.
Yeah. I do it in Calgary. Okay. Yeah. So don't even try that.
Yeah. And there was a lady that approached me with her young daughter. She had to be around 7 years old, I would say. And she came over to me and she's just like, "Are you Gabrielle Blatz?" And I'm like, "Yes." And she's just like, "Congratulations on winning the election. I saw that you won last night and I just wanted to congratulate you." And her daughter pulled on her shirt and she leaned down and her daughter whispered to her, "Who's this?" And her mom looked down at her daughter and she said, "That's Gabrielle Blatz. That's the person whose sign we had on our lawn." And her daughter said, "Mommy, a girl won?" And for me, I think that I accomplished everything that I wanted to in that moment. And so I already.
What have you done for the last 6 years then? Like, seriously,
I think I have to create new goals because if representation was one of the main reasons that I wanted to be on council, and that was something that I got to, that it was something that I got to fulfill day one, I had to create new goals. And those things were ever changing. And I had so many great mentors that have been a part of my life along the way. And I think that being able to do all the things that I've done, it doesn't mean that this is the end of the road for me by any means, but it does mean that I want to challenge myself in other ways. And I think that being a 2-term city councillor, I think that I've gotten a lot more experience under my belt and I want to see what else I can do.
Ask a very simple question.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give the next young Indigenous woman who's thinking about putting their name on the ballot? This episode will be broadcast across all of Alberta. Who might be listening right now? What would you tell them? What would you tell young Gabrielle?
Gonna make me choked up. So there was a quote by Gabriel Dumont that got very widely publicized, where at the end he said, "Me, I'll never give up. And that's the only thing that I can say is it's going to be hard. Everything is going to be hard. Everything is not going to be easy. You're going to make tougher decisions than you ever thought possible. But you will never give up. You need to show your persistence and you need to show your strength to everyone out there. And you will have to dig into the depths of your soul to find that strength some days, but never give up.
It's great. Do you feel like you're giving up by walking away?
Absolutely not, because I don't see myself as walking away. I didn't give up in the middle of my term. I didn't stop when I could have kept going.
Was there ever a time that you felt like you could give up?
Yeah. I think that COVID, once again, it's very hard.
It all comes back to COVID.
Yeah,
this election,
it was very hard time for everybody. But I've struggled with my fair share of mental health issues throughout my term, but throughout my life. And I think that it's taken a lot of internal battles for me to continue to keep going. And I think that for me, I've had to have a lot of support. I've had to have a lot of self-talks with myself about this. And every day can be hard, but you need to know that the harder you work, the more that every day is going to get better from here. And I know that might sound corny to say, but it's something that I truly believe in, is that every day is going to be better. And even my worst day on council is still one of the best days of my life. And I'll never regret being a part of city council. And oh no.
Don't cry.
I try not.
Don't cry for me, Wetaskiwin. The truth will never leave her.
But yeah, I don't think that's giving up. It's using the strength that I have learned from the 6 years that I've had on council and being able to transition that into an even bigger, bolder version of myself every day and showing up for myself in ways that I never thought was possible.
You talk about leaving behind the legacy of Forest.
Yeah.
What do you hope people remember you for the most? If you don't come back, I know you say you never say never, but
never say never.
What do you hope people remember you for?
I hope that people remember me for being a safe space. And I think that that's something that I've always hoped for, is that people remember me for the compassion that I've shown and for the kindness that I've shown in my leadership. And so I don't care about being seen as this big, bold leader that is very boisterous. And I care about the way that I made people feel while I was in leadership. And I just really hope that that is what I'm remembered for.
I want to turn to my last subject, and it's my favorite subject, and I hope it's your favorite subject as well, because if it's not, then I think we need to not be friends anymore. But I want to talk about tourism. Ooh. I think tourism is something that we don't talk about a lot as a municipality, because it's traditionally the provincial responsibility, but the province talks about the big ones: Drumheller, Jasper, Banff.
Yeah.
But every municipality has their unique story to tell.
Mm-hmm.
What should people do in Wetaskiwin this summer? Is there any big events going on? Is there something that you say, if you come to Wetaskiwin, you need to see X? What is that X for you? What is that hidden gem?
Well, one plug that I will put in is that August 16th, we are doing a community planting event for the first 2,000 trees that will be planted for the Reconciliation Forest.
I'm coming for that.
Yes, please.
You will see me there.
Yeah. And so everybody will be able to plant their own tree. And AMA is helping with that because they're helping sponsor an Adopt the Bee program. And Project Forest is who we're partnering with on this project as well. So they'll be down. So that's a huge event that's happening. And we have one of the only peace cairns in North America is in Wetaskiwin. And so being able to seeing that on a medicine wheel outside of one of North America's oldest working water towers, as well as our...
Okay. Side story here, really quick side story. I was just recently in Wetaskiwin about a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
I was at the Starbucks, sitting there just randomly in the Starbucks, and two deer just randomly walked across the highway. And only in Wetaskiwin would you see all the cars stop and just be like, okay, it's traffic jam. And Wetaskiwin, deers.
We're a Disney movie. Yeah, no, it's definitely, it's a small town charm, but being in a city that has all the amenities, and honestly, like, there's so many great things in Wetaskiwin that you can see.
Can you explain to me why you have a military turret
Oh,
that basically looks at you when you walk into City Hall? Because I can imagine paying taxes with that looking down at you is
okay.
very scary.
So legend has it, because Wetaskiwin was one of the army bases for the Canadian Armed Forces, was that we stole German cannons and they're now outside City Hall. So that is what legend has it. I have yet to confirm that, but
I'm
that.
using that
Yeah,
now.
yeah. So they may have been used a very long time ago, but yes, that is the reason for it.
So I have one final question. It's the $1,000,000 question.
Okay.
What makes Wetaskiwin such a unique place to live, to work, and to raise a family, Councillor?
Mm. I think that you'll never feel more at home with people, even if it's new people that are coming to Wetaskiwin from outside communities. I think that we've always done such a great job of making everybody feel like your neighbor and have a warm experience when they're in Wetaskiwin. Um, I think that we are so culturally rich. We have a large Indigenous community, with Musquetees being 15 minutes down the road. We have a large Filipino population as well. And so we have lots of people that are so proud of their cultures that they're able to share in Wetaskiwin. And I think that that is something that is so beautiful, and something that I'm the most proud of in Wetaskiwin is our diversity. And so I think that anybody can come to Wetaskiwin and feel welcome.
Councillor Gabrielle, thank you so much for doing this. I'm so honored that you took time out of your busy schedule to do this. I'm so honored we were able to connect and able to just have a conversation. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate being here.
Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Cross Border Interviews. Now, we hope you've enjoyed today's conversation and gained some valuable insights into the world of municipal politics here in beautiful Alberta. Now, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platforms, or if you haven't already, head over to YouTube and follow us there at Cross Border Network. Also, be sure to subscribe to the show on all the social media channels. We always have great content that is going up on those channels, so you do not want to miss them. Now, your support means the world to us, so if you can, share this episode with your friends, your family, and yes, even your community. To learn more about the people and the communities that we feature on this show and our sister shows, visit us online at crossborderinterviews.ca. Now, until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll be back with a brand new episode of Cross Border Interviews next week. See you then.